Application of the Eightfold Path in Life, Right Effort. Welcome back everyone to Mind Podcast. The importance of right effort. Right effort, encompassing the three aspects of avoiding evil, doing good, and purifying the mind, is described by the Buddha through Dhammapada verse 183. Avoid all evil deeds, undertake all good deeds. Keep your mind pure. This is the essence of the Buddha's teaching. The element of right effort is crucial as it creates a close relationship in the practice of cause and effect with the first 5 factors. Right view, right intention, right speech, right action, and right livelihood. The last 2 factors that complete the path are right mindfulness and right concentration. In the 7 factors of the Noble Eightfold Path, if right effort is missing, path will not yield results. Although it is ranked 6th, its importance supports the other factors, leading to success. The Pali Canon states, the Noble Eightfold Path is regarded as the middle way, capable of helping ordinary people become enlightened beings at 2 different levels. 1 helps practitioners achieve liberation, mainly for those who are monastics. 2 helps lay people, who have roles in society, attain success, merit, and happiness. Right effort has profound social, ethical, and spiritual significance, serving as the foundation of the self-reliant doctrine of cause and effect. It requires greater personal effort from individuals compared to other religions. Believers in monotheistic and polytheistic religions often entrust their faith to a deity, and happiness will manifest. Making promises is easy, but for the careless or incapable, promises abound. Those who understand cause and effect never make reckless promises. Effort and contribution are required to achieve relative results. By applying the 4 core practices, practitioners clearly see their value in all aspects. Right effort is defined as efforts toward noble, peaceful, happy, tranquil, and harmonious goals. This does not mean seeking one's benefit at the expense of others. It contrasts with selfish efforts that violate laws and ethics, bringing suffering to oneself and others. Right effort differs from addictive habits. Addicts may pursue their goals even more intensely than those striving for righteous aims, such as smokers, drug users, and alcoholics. Without these substances, they cannot function and rush towards them like moths to a flame, even risking legal violations to achieve their desires. Defining effort as the pursuit of a goal is not sufficient, as it may encourage many to engage in wrongful acts that negatively impact society. Right effort is entirely different from recklessness, stubborn and obstinate attitudes. Recklessness, as in the saying deaf to the gunfire, or lepers fear no sores, involves rushing ahead, doing whatever one wants without fear of the law, punishment, societal shame, or conscience. Such a person is bold, creating suffering and becoming a victim, walking the wrong path or using the wrong method, but believing they are right, disregarding all sincere advice, regardless of who it comes from or how it is presented. They continue on their path. Despite significant efforts and investments, little righteous fruit is reaped. This is something to avoid and transform. 4 methods of practice. First, abandon evil deeds. Every core practice has 2 parts. 1. The first part states the consequences, whether good or bad. 2. The second part addresses how to conclude it and how to develop it positively or negatively. To achieve this, one must overcome 3 attitudes: guilt, ending sin, and deeds against the law, ethics, and conscience. The awareness of the wrong one has committed is the first step. It is a mistake to be immersed in guilt. Such people punish themselves, lack clarity, and may harm themselves or even end their lives. The suffering they create has no chance to end. It exists in the form of cause and will bear fruit in the future. We must strive to overcome condemnation, criticism, and gossip. Overcoming them is no simple task. Major and serious collapses are often reported by the media. In Vietnam, the Công an newspaper often covers such stories. In the era of information technology, bad news spreads widely on the internet, passed from one person to another. As a result, the social stigma and discrimination faced by those who have committed crimes creates significant psychological pressure which must be overcome for them to renew their lives and awaken to their mistakes. Turning back from wrongdoing requires effort, moving in the opposite direction of harmful actions and law violations. The law is not the only scale to determine what is sinful, evil, or unwholesome. Some actions considered crimes under one legal system may be viewed as normal under another. Evaluating crime and wrongdoing through legal frameworks is relative. Buddhism teaches that evaluating such actions through the lens of ethical cause and effect is the most accurate measure to determine what is sinful, which behaviors should be prohibited, and which should be developed. The Buddha teaches in both the Pali Canon and the Mahayana scriptures through 4 aspects. Aspect 1. Stopping unwholesome actions. The first step in stopping unwholesome actions must stem from the realization of their harmful consequences, not just in the present but also potentially in future lives, both for oneself and others. One must make an effort to renew oneself. For example, in 2009, US President Barack Obama won the Nobel Peace Prize, surprising and bewildering many who followed this award for efforts toward world peace. In previous years, no US president had shown such efforts. Was Obama's awarding justified? In truth, there was no favoritism. Peace Prize is awarded to those who make practical contributions to peace, not just theoretical ones. Scholars may write hundreds of books about world peace, but whether these ideas can be applied is a different matter. What was Obama's effort? He called on the major powers who possessed large amounts of nuclear and atomic weapons to publicly declare and reach agreements to collectively disarm them in stages. This effort aimed to create a world free of nuclear weapons. The United States disclosed its nuclear arsenal, the largest on the planet, followed by Russia, China, Pakistan, Afghanistan, India, and other countries like Iran and North Korea, which are on the verge of developing nuclear bombs. Such efforts are highly significant in modern society, where political ideologies or economic power struggles between NATO and opposing blocs, or between the Middle East and alliances like G7 and G20, or between extremist and progressive groups could lead to world wars, shattering the planet into fragments. All forms of nuclear bombs are considered evil, and producing them is an evil act. Many nations argue that preparing weapons is the best means of maintaining peace. With advanced modern weaponry, foreign invaders dare not attack. This reasoning held true in past wars when military strength equated to the strength of truth and power. Today, under the United Nations principles, the level of legitimate protection is much higher. We no longer need to fear, and there is no room for excuses like preparing for war to protect peace. Thus, arms manufacturing and trading, although the largest economic source on the planet, are wrongful practices that should be eliminated. Eliminating suffering. Aspect 2. Stopping suffering and evil. Stopping suffering and evil not only means ceasing actions that violate the law and harm oneself and others. Suffering results from misunderstanding, the wrong application of methods, or being victims of bad people and negative forces in society. Suffering encompasses 4 aspects: grief, lamentation, pain, and distress. Grief. These are feelings of sadness or worry, whether great or small. It is necessary to stop them at their source. Applying mindfulness, meaning doing each task at the appropriate time and place, prevents mixing work responsibilities with home life or vice versa. This way, the pressure on emotions can be released. Grief. This includes feelings of sadness, despair, disappointment, and internal psychological suppression, which sometimes exist subtly in the form of the unconscious. We must make efforts to transform these emotions rather than suppress and repress them. Melancholy. This refers to vague sadness, where one may not even understand why they are sad or concerned about trivial matters, lost in thought about things that don't lead to any result. Distress. Distress is the suffering caused by oneself, by others, or by unfavorable environmental conditions. It is also an object that we should work to transform. Physical suffering, such as illness or natural disasters, workplace accidents, and traffic accidents, must be overcome through the practice of contemplating non-self. This is not me, this body is not me, it only plays a functional role, and I will not foolishly carry the mind's suffering with this unfortunate body. By relatively detaching from suffering, can absolutely transform it, becoming liberated from all suffering. Eliminating suffering. Aspect 2. Stopping suffering and evil. Stopping suffering and evil not only means ceasing actions that violate the law and harm oneself and others. Suffering results from misunderstanding, the wrong application of methods, or being victims of bad people and negative forces in society. Suffering encompasses 4 aspects: Grief, lamentation, pain, and distress. Grief. These are feelings of sadness or worry, whether great or small. It is necessary to stop them at their source. Applying mindfulness, meaning doing each task at the appropriate time and place, prevents mixing work responsibilities with home life or vice versa. This way, the pressure on emotions can be released. Grief. This includes feelings of sadness, despair, disappointment, and internal psychological suppression, which sometimes exist subtly in the form of the unconscious. We must make efforts to transform these emotions rather than suppress and repress them. Melancholy. This refers to vague sadness, where one may not even understand why they are sad or concerned about trivial matters, lost in thought about things that don't lead to any result. Distress. Distress is the suffering caused by oneself, by others, or by unfavorable environmental conditions. It is also an object that we should work to transform. Physical suffering, such as illness or natural disasters, workplace accidents, and traffic accidents, must be overcome through the practice of contemplating non-self. This is not me, this body is not me, it only plays a functional role, and I will not foolishly carry the mind's suffering with this unfortunate body. By relatively detaching from suffering, can absolutely transform it, becoming liberated from all suffering. Aspect 3. Stopping attachment. There are 4 main objects of attachment. If we do not let go of them, we will become victims of misfortune. 1. Attachment to permanence. The belief that everything is eternal, leading to the notion of predetermined fate or destiny, arranged by a higher power, causing one to avoid making efforts to transform themselves. 2. Attachment to nihilism. The belief that death is the end, that it marks the final point of life, leading to neglect of ethical life, thinking that everyone meets the same end, without reward or punishment, without cause and effect, without good or bad realms continuing after death. 3. Attachment to self. The belief that this body belongs to oneself eternally, even though it only serves a functional role. Excessive self-importance leads to difficulties in social relationship. 4. Attachment to materiality. Clinging to possessions and phenomena, resulting in suffering. Instead of making efforts to renew oneself, many people become immersed in emotional attachments to what has been lost or no longer exists. Attachment to knowledge. Believing that one's knowledge is complete, perfect, and true, dismissing all sincere advice, even ignoring the truth when it knocks at the door. Stopping delusional thoughts is first defined as refraining from inappropriate thoughts, views, and attitudes that do not align with the objective truth, dependent origination, and cause and effect. These thoughts do not aim to resolve problems based on cause and effect. Delusional thoughts cause us to live in illusions, or even delusions. Delusional thoughts can be understood as any ideas not based on mindfulness, where one is not in control of the body, emotions, or mind, leading neither to enlightenment nor to happiness for oneself and others. The realm of delusional thoughts is vast, and practitioners must make efforts to stop them. Delusional thoughts are harmful thoughts that must be transformed. Avoiding the arising of unwholesome deeds, or unwholesome deeds that have not yet been committed, one should not allow them to arise. Concluding what has already been done is neither easy nor difficult. It is not easy if we are aware of the legal and ethical consequences, as overcoming them is challenging. It is not difficult if the actions belong to the past, and we make efforts to renew ourselves, which can lead to success. Fate is created by ourselves, not predetermined. Avoiding uncommitted, unwholesome deeds is not as simple as it sounds. Sometimes these deeds are hidden like secret agents or icebergs beneath the unconscious, and only a small catalyst can trigger wrongdoing. All evil lurking in the unconscious can easily cause us to lose control and self-discipline. The hardest part is stopping evil that has not yet been done. Only those who are diligent in their spiritual practice can uproot these deeply ingrained causes. Most of us succeed in stopping committed evil, but uncommitted evil can sometimes be hard to recognize and overcome. For example, when faced with traps or pressure, choosing between death or committing a wrongful act, many choose life, even if it means engaging in unwholesome deeds, under the justification of survival. Traps such as being drugged or stimulated, where one loses self-control, can lead to actions that one would never have imagined doing. Extreme caution is required to stop uncommitted evil deeds. Stopping the arising of evil. The Buddha taught that to prevent the arising of negative actions, one should avoid environments and conditions that are negative, refrain from associating with bad people, not follow false teachers, and not feel obligated to comply with requests that lack diligence, even if they come from our parents. Here, a high level of personal freedom and democracy is emphasized, guiding us to follow what is good and abandon what is bad. Some people are overly accommodating, saying things like, "I'll practice the way others do. If others misbehave, I'll follow." Or, "The world is dirty, but I'll stay clean. The world is drunk, but I'll stay sober." When the pressure from wrongdoers and negativity is overwhelming, if we don't go along with them, we might be excluded or trapped. We could become accomplices or allies in their wrongdoing. Efforts to stop evil that we have not yet committed are challenging and may sometimes come at a great cost. To maintain righteousness, we may need to give up our jobs or leave toxic environments, which can impact our financial stability. Whether we can endure the process of abandoning and escaping negative environments depends on our level of diligence and how much we can bear during the time we are striving to find new, positive direction. A couple once asked the question. They were raising livestock, supplying around 10,000 chickens to the market each day. Is this sinful? They don't kill the chickens, just supply them. The butchers handle the killing. Should this occupation be ended or not? How should it be ended? From an ethical standpoint, raising livestock directly leads to slaughter. Even though it serves to feed people, we have other choices. Humans can survive without this. Secondly, while this business yields immediate profit, the long-term consequences could include shortened lifespans, illness, or even insanity later in life, as well as unpredictable debts and grudges in future lives. Although we might try to ignore these consequences, they will still happen. When placed on the scale, the economic benefit is minimal compared to the harm that spans many future lives. Why not choose a safer path? Thirdly, changing occupations may lead to financial loss because of the investments we've made. Even though they are only raising chickens and not slaughtering them, this occupation ultimately leads to the killing of many animals. Stopping such a practice before it grows is much better. After hearing this analysis, the couple expressed that it would be difficult to change. They had invested so much, and giving it up would result in a loss. It would take 5 to 10 years to recover their investment before they could make a profit. They were surprised and uncertain about what to do. Preventing the arising of evil, stopping uncommitted acts of killing is extremely difficult. It also requires effort to cease what has already been done, as timely prevention spares us from karmic retribution. If we see the consequences but do not make the effort to stop, the fault lies with us. We must clearly recognize evil and avoid trapping ourselves in bad environments with negative influences like drugs and other harmful temptations. We should not allow negativity to continue to exist. This must arise from self-awareness. We shouldn't wait to be forced into rehabilitation centers, where resentment may grow because we were compelled by law and might not make a genuine effort to change. Voluntarily seeking help is a better solution. In Buddhism, this is an effort to prevent uncommitted evil. We shouldn't allow conditions for evil to arise. We should work 8 hours a day at the office, then return home to spend time with family, fulfilling our responsibilities to bring joy to others. With this awareness, the desire to wander, indulge, gamble, drink, or engage in other negative behaviors rarely arises. When we are busy, negativity doesn't have a chance to exist. For retirees, when family members take care of household tasks, one should volunteer at temples or participate in beneficial organizations to use time wisely, generate merit, and prevent the opportunity for negative thoughts to arise. Idleness breeds evil. In Chinese translations, the Vietnamese Zen master Kun Dun Ho used the term feng qi. Feng means to throw away, and qi means to let go. Together, these words strongly convey the need to discard and let go of uncommitted evil actions. Learning from the harm in others' experiences. Seeing the harm others experience, we must learn from it. If we see a car ahead fall into a pit, we would be foolish to follow. We should be grateful for bad people, unfortunate lives, and the imperfections in life, as they help us become better. Instead of cursing, isolating, or condemning these people, we should pity them and also have compassion for ourselves so that we don't become victims like they have. Continuing to develop good deeds. In the Pali scriptures, the Buddha taught that any thought, action, or speech that brings happiness to oneself and others in the present and the future should be carried out. In the Mahayana Sutras, practice of selflessness and directing all positive values toward the path of enlightenment and liberation is considered the highest good and is greatly encouraged. Good deeds are categorized into the following levels: engaging in charitable and social work, guiding our children towards a bright future, studying with a sense of responsibility toward the nation, honoring parents as if they were two Buddhas in the house, being grateful to teachers, and being thankful to everyone in society. Without these people, we would not have the results we enjoy today. This is called good from the perspective of merit. Buddhist practitioners are encouraged to develop good deeds to the highest possible level. The Amitabha Sutra teaches that one must do good extensively, not carelessly, half-heartedly, or just enough. Efforts to do good should never cease, even after becoming a Buddha. When one's merit and virtues are complete, one must still continue performing good deeds. Goodness is boundless. What may seem abundant in relation to oneself is small compared to those who do more. Compared to those who do less, our efforts may seem significant. Compared to those who do more, we are just a grain of sand compared to a mountain, a drop of water compared to the ocean, or a breath of air compared to the vast universe. With this understanding, there is no room for pride or arrogance. Virtue is related to practice. For example, loving kindness is the love that brings joy. Compassion is empathy for suffering. Joy is finding happiness in our own practice and success and in the success of others. Equanimity is letting go of all bad things and even the results of our practice to attain a higher level. Practicing generosity, living ethically, and cultivating wisdom are also considered essential virtues. Humility, respect, maintaining discipline, living with a sense of gratitude and duty, knowing how to repay kindness, these are all good virtues. Learning the Dharma teachings given by the Buddha, those passed down by the Bodhisattvas, Arhats, and esteemed masters, also encouraged. In this regard, the Mahayana scriptures encourage learning as many Dharma teachings as possible. Some people hold extreme beliefs focusing only on a single practice, such as chanting the Buddha's name, without understanding anything beyond that. The Buddha's teaching does not promote such rigidity. Healing the illnesses of both body and mind is like treating the internal organs. If we treat liver disease without acknowledging its connection to the stomach and kidneys, the liver's healing could lead to stomach issues. Similarly, liver disease can negatively impact the kidneys if not treated with the whole system in mind. Treating the suffering of afflictions, karma, and pain follows the same principle. Besides practicing one's main method, whether meditation or Pure Land, one should also learn and integrate other Dharma methods to support different aspects of practice. These methods never conflict with one another. This understanding helps us avoid extreme attitudes of respecting our own practice while disparaging others. In the end, we must strive to progress and achieve the fruits of our chosen practice. This requires a serious, methodical, step-by-step approach with determination to reach our goal. Developing good deeds. Never give up halfway. Goodness is the nourishment of ethics, companion of spirituality, and the foundation of happiness and achievement in life. Giving up due to adversity, criticism, or jealousy is like ending our own opportunity for positive benefit. To achieve success, those who strive to do good must see adversity as a normal part of life, as illustrated by the following comparison. Taller the house, the stronger the wind. For houses of 3 stories with an average height of 12 or 13 meters, the wind is normal. But for a house 120 stories high, the wind speed reaches several dozen kilometers per hour, with no barriers from surrounding structure. Thus, the force of the wind is immense, and we must have sturdy doors. Advantages of being at a high elevation. Being in a higher position also has its advantages, such as having a panoramic view of everything around, enjoying fresh air, and saving energy if we build with glass walls, thick enough to withstand storms, providing safety during earthquakes of 6.5 or higher. Developing good deeds with a selfless spirit is already challenging, but doing so with selflessness, even more difficult. Many people do good deeds for fame or profit. Many invest money in advertisements, airing for 30 seconds or a few minutes on television or well-known newspaper. Meanwhile, investing the same or even a smaller amount in charitable activities can have a much greater social impact, spreading goodwill widely and garnering economic benefits equal to or even greater than advertising campaign. Many companies have adopted this approach, doing good with the understanding that it benefits them. However, because their motivation is selfish, the merit they generate is limited, and the ethical and human value of their actions is not very high. In Buddhism, we are taught to develop goodness from a selfless perspective, recognizing that it is our responsibility to help others. When we see others suffering, we cannot feel at peace. The pain of humanity as a whole affects us, and we experience happiness when we have the opportunity to participate, even in part, in a good deed. There is no need for others to acknowledge, praise, or glorify us, as the law of cause and effect will naturally bring about positive results. Encouraging others to join in good deeds is, according to the Amitabha Sutra, creating good karma. Many people practice Buddhism only for themselves, recognizing the spiritual benefits for their own happiness, but failing to encourage their spouse or family members to follow suit. We are fortunate when spouses can practice Buddhism together, leading to shared happiness and preventing collapse during failures or criticisms. Some Buddhists are hesitant to guide their children toward Buddhism, thinking they are still young and should be free to choose. This belief, that it's never too late to guide them, is a misunderstanding or a lack of responsibility. Such individuals miss the opportunity to help others in matters of Dharma. There are many ways to help. One method is distributing Dharma books, CDs, and tapes, which can help many people find their way back to the right path. There are inspiring lectures and meaningful works that can transform lives. Efforts to encourage others to walk the positive path alongside us embody the spirit of good deeds as taught in Mahayana Buddhism. We often do good deeds spontaneously, only when opportunities arise. For example, attending the One Day of Peace retreat at Folkwang Temple has expanded our knowledge of Buddhism, contributing to personal growth for many participants. In the past, when someone lied or upset us, we might have become angry and cut off relationships. Now, understanding the Dharma, we recognize these reactions as afflictions and have learned to transform them, maintaining peace of mind and happiness. Doing good deeds with the spirit of perfection. Paramita. Complete good deeds with the spirit of paramita. Paramita is defined as, first, not seeing oneself as the doer of the good deed. Second, encouraging others to do good. And third, praising others for their good deeds. These are the three perspectives through which good deeds are made more universal, global, socialized, and communal, without attaching ourselves to the outcome or becoming arrogant, seeking recognition from others. Doing good so others can follow our example is different from doing it to glorify ourselves. These two are completely different. The Tukmet Min, recollection of past lives, is a process that recounts the past lives of the Buddha for others to learn from, not to glorify him. The Arhats also use Tukmet Min from their experiences. Therefore, recounting with the intent to elevate oneself is completely different from sharing to elevate goodness. Do not see those we help as objects of charity. Natural disasters create countless victims who need food, clothing, basic medical supplies like tents, beds, mosquito nets, drinking water, dry food, and financial aid for medical treatment and healthcare services. We must clearly recognize the severe consequences that others face, knowing that they may not have the capacity to save themselves, and we must step in to help. Here, the Buddha teaches us not to focus on whether others acknowledge our kindness, so that the ego can be uprooted. We should not view charitable acts, whether large or small, as our possession, nor should we see ourselves as the owner of the donations, with someone else receiving them. Some people prefer to donate gifts because they cost only around 30,000 VND, but the large package makes for a good photo opportunity. On the other hand, giving an envelope containing 2,000 VND, which is just a piece of paper, may not look impressive in photos or videos. Many people think along these lines. We must understand that each charity event has different recipients with different needs. For example, in mental health facilities, giving money is pointless as they can't use it, and giving soap or toothbrushes may not work because they may bite or break them. Providing dry food is what they can use. Similarly, for those in the final stages of AIDS, the best support is medicine. We should convert the money into medicine, as prescribed by centers based on the severity of the illness, without overemphasizing the need for photos and videos just to show donors. Of course, some documentation is necessary, but we should not let our hearts be attached to it. When we give on behalf of others, documentation is required. However, when we make personal donations to a temple, whether or not we receive a receipt of merit doesn't matter. In other words, we should not see ourselves as the doers of good, nor see others as the recipients of our charity. We should not view the material goods we donate as our possessions. Those who can do this are practicing the perfection of charity, dana paramita. In the Pali Canon, the perfection of charity is defined from 3 perspectives. Joy before doing the deed. We eagerly organize and encourage others to join us in doing good. Joy while doing the deed. Even if it's hard, we give up sleep, endure difficult roads, wade through rivers and climb mountains to help others. Whether they are grateful or not, we are still joyful. Joy after doing the deed. When we reflect on the act, we feel happiness, regardless of whether others remember our kindness or not. These 3 mental attitudes help us complete the perfection of charity and are the core of the 3rd level of practice. Developing good deeds that have not yet been done. For good deeds we haven't yet done, we must seek creative ways, find conditions to develop them, and look for opportunities to contribute. Those who wait for perfect conditions will never accomplish anything significant. Those who think, "I'll only do good when all conditions are favorable," will never achieve anything meaningful for others. We must be inventive, create opportunities, and not worry if others misunderstand our intentions as self-serving or think we lack noble motivation. We should remain undeterred and committed. Many people, when re-evaluating their actions, tend to give up without strong resolve or the spirit of a bodhisattva. Additionally, jealousy can arise when we see others doing good, leading to feelings of envy, resentment towards their success, and even attempts to undermine them through gossip, slander, false accusations. When we witness the harm that befalls those who do good without proper caution, we might lose the enthusiasm and determination to continue with the good we are doing or plan to do. Overcoming such challenges is essential for success. Doing good is like planting a large tree that takes decades to bear fruit. We only do something expecting immediate rewards during our lifetime, we will never achieve anything truly worthwhile. The benefits of investing in human development over a span of 100 years allow us to see the long-term vision. Planting trees such as oil trees, ironwood trees, Bodhi trees, or crepe myrtles requires 3 or 4 decades to grow enough to provide shade. If we are now in our 60s, in 10 or 20 years, we may pass away before seeing the fruits of our efforts. But we still do it because it holds value for the ecological environment and provides numerous other positive outcomes in the future. Seek every opportunity to create good deeds. In this context, there are 4 key aspects. Creating conditions for good deeds to arise. The Pali Canon teaches, associate with virtuous people, learn the Dharma, consult experienced elders, and stay close to good friends. Efforts to learn from knowledgeable teachers. The Mahayana scriptures emphasize not underestimating small good deeds, like how a drop of water can gradually fill a container. If we overthink and overcalculate the effort involved in doing good, we may find it difficult to take action. We must recognize the future value of these actions for others and ourselves, making it easier to create conditions for good deeds to arise. Everyone must revere their parents as 2 Buddhas in the home. We must be filial to our parents, and only then can we encourage our children to be filial to us. It is a matter of cause and effect. Setting an example, we must first demonstrate filial piety by caring for our parents and serving as a role model for our children and grandchildren. Developing good deeds that have not yet been done. Once a good deed is initiated, it cannot thrive without being nurtured. Take, for instance, planting crops. Farmers rely on the rainy season, which provides favorable conditions for the seeds to sprout, allowing the rice to grow without much extra care. we must create favorable conditions for good deeds to flourish, referred to as supportive conditions, panacea. If these conditions are not continuously strengthened and expanded, progress will stall or regress. Planting a tree during the rainy season may mean we don't need to water it much, but if it only rains a few times a week, we must water the tree twice a day. In the first 6 months, we must ensure the tree grows quickly, and when the roots have taken hold, it can thrive without much additional care. However, in the early stages, we must invest significant effort. This supportive conditions approach is the method for maximizing the development of good deeds, ensuring good deeds reach full completion. Many people invest only 30% or 60% of their effort and then give up because good deeds often take a long time to bear fruit. In such cases, we should remind ourselves, once you've mounted the tiger, you cannot dismount. When it comes to doing good, quitting would be a waste. However, if you're engaged in negative behavior, you should get off the tiger as soon as possible. In doing good, we need to create more catalysts to ensure completion. In the scriptures, the Buddha taught that if a string is pulled too tight, it will snap, and even if it doesn't, the sound it produces will not be harmonious. Doing good deeds is similar to spiritual practice. Someone who practices too harshly will not endure. If we practice as if we will die tomorrow, it's unlikely we will achieve lasting results. In the early stages of practice, we may be highly diligent, but as we progress, we need to pace ourselves like a marathon. If we only sprint, we will exhaust ourselves and quit. Being overly rigid in practice without achieving balance can lead to pride and ultimately abandoning our merit. New monks, or those who have just received precepts, must be cautious, as arrogance can easily arise. Beginners may chant 6 times a day, add extra repentance sessions, and study the Dharma twice daily, filling every moment with practice. However, long-time practitioners may only chant twice daily, with Dharma study reduced to once a day. Their foundation is solid and they don't need to rush. Some lay Buddhists report listening to 4 Dharma lectures a day and expect praise. I tell them that such excessive practice is risky. They are fortunate not to fall into delusion. Listening to 4 lectures, 5 to 6 hours a day, can lead to addiction, even if it is a positive addiction. Being overly absorbed in the Dharma may lead one to neglect family and social responsibilities. It's important to balance practice and worldly responsibility. For lay people, chanting once a day and listening to 1 Dharma talk is sufficient. The remaining time should be spent reflecting, absorbing, and living in accordance with the teaching, creating conditions for the full flourishing of good deeds. We must be patient in cultivating good deeds. Just as planting large trees like oil trees, ironwood, Bodhi trees, or crepe myrtles requires 30 to 40 years before they provide shade, doing good often takes time to yield results. If we are in our 60s, we may not live long enough to enjoy the shade ourselves, but we still plant these trees because they offer ecological and other long-term benefit. Likewise, good deeds may not provide immediate personal gain, but they contribute positively to future generations and the environment. Reading a lot or chanting frequently without understanding brings no benefit, much like reading too many prescriptions or too many maps detailing how to travel from one place to another without actually having the time to go. By the time you're done reading, there's no time left to travel, so how can there be any results? Creating the conditions for achieving genuine effort requires persistence and a proper method. It is not enough to rely solely on determination or enthusiasm. Enthusiasm without a method leads to going in circles. In Mahayana Buddhism, doing good deeds must be dedicated to the attainment of the supreme Bodhi, ultimate enlightenment. Only those who aim for enlightenment can achieve good at the highest level. For lay practitioners, this may be difficult, but at the very least, we should orient our minds toward this goal, to avoid being attached to conditioned phenomena, which lead only to rewards or enjoyment in the 3 realms of unconsciousness: the realm of desire, the realm of form, and the formless realm. Those practicing spirituality should aim for the highest level of liberation. The Buddha taught that liberation from the cycle of birth and death varies depending on whether one is a layperson or a monastic, and whether one's mind is directed toward Bodhi at a relative or absolute level. The 4 core practices mentioned earlier are the 4 arts leading to success. These range from good deeds related to one's profession or career, to moral virtues, spiritual good, and ultimately the happiness of enlightenment.